Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. In today's episode, I am getting ready for Halloween. I love October and decorating for Halloween. I don't love using super scary or gory decorations. I like the cutesy side of Halloween, so I have put together some of my favorite Halloween decor to share with you today. I hope you enjoy these DIYs. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. When you do see your favorite project in today's video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. But let's go make some Halloween DIYs.
I want to make a Halloween banner to hang out. And you could do fall, you could do Christmas, you could do like summer and florals. The basics are the same here. So on Amazon, you'll be able to find printable iron-on transfer paper. Now, you can also find this at Hobby Lobby and at Michael's. Walmart carries it as well. So any craft store, I think you'd be able to find this. And this is what allows you to use your inkjet printer, print a design, and then you're just using your iron, your heat press, whatever, to transfer onto your fabric. Now we need to find some cute designs to put on here. So I love using the Graphics Fairy website. So this is her website here. I just typed in Halloween, and all of these different categories come up. You can see that you can get different kids, different witches, different pumpkins, all sorts of different crafting ideas to use them for. If you are not familiar with the Graphics Fairy website, get yourself familiar with it. It's fantastic. She's done a beautiful job curating all of these different vintage designs to be able to use. And she does have some subscription-based content here, but most of this is free for you to use. They're just pictures that are in like the archives, like that have, they're not copyrighted or anything, that time frames run out. So she's just curated all of these images for you to get and to use. Of course, anytime I use any of her projects, I will let you guys know that I've gotten them from her website. But all you do is you're going to click on an image once you found it, and you're going to save it to your photos or save it to your downloads. Save it somewhere in your computer where you're going to easily be able to find it to make your image. Look at how cute some of these are. Now my banner, I want the images to be a vertical type shape like this right here. This is one of my most favorites. And so I was looking for images of that shape. But of course, if you're making a pillow, a dish towel, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a tote bag, the possibilities are endless. This is just some drop cloth that I picked up at Lowe's. It was about $17 for this size. And you guys, I will probably have this drop cloth for literal years to make projects from because it lasts a very long time. I've already made probably 12 different projects from just this drop cloth, and I haven't even made a dent in how much of it there is. Now, I did not measure anything out very specifically. I found this pamphlet that was the size that I wanted to use to cut out my design. So I used that to cut out my first sheet, and then I just use each sheet, stacking it on top of the next to cut these out. So nothing super measury or scientific there. It's very rustic. But I do just kind of fray the edges. Drop cloth naturally wants to fray once you've cut into it, which gives it that beautiful farmhouse kind of rustic look. Now, I am using my heat press to press these. You do not have to have a heat press to do these. You can use just a regular iron. You can use like your Cricut heat press or a mini heat press. You do need something that gets warm or hot like an iron does though. And you'll read the instructions on your paper to determine how high or how hot it needs to be. Now, keep in mind that my paper here that I do not have to have my image reversed. So you'll want to read if this is a paper that you're putting front down. If you need to reverse your image, you'll need to do that in Canva or Word. And if you guys would like me to do a tutorial on how to do that, I would be happy to. Just let me know down in the comments, and I will do a video solely on how to size or convert, reverse your image. But you're just going to place these in the center of each of your little banner flags that you cut out here and transfer that image with your paper right onto them. I mean, can you think about how cute like sweatshirts or tote bags or pillows? I mean, there's so many fun things that you can do with using this transfer paper. Now, I'm using my Crocodile to put some grommets in here. You could just cut some little holes or anything in here, or fold over the fabric and glue it to make a little tube so that way you could run your string through there or your twine. But I really wanted that grommet look in there. I kind of like the aged feel it has. And so that way the drop cloth itself, the integrity of it won't be compromised, because you've got that set grommet in there. So I'm just feeding some twine through here, and look at how cute this looks. What a fun way to make a customized project to hang in your home. Now, I could jazz this up a bit with some different ribbon or embellishments if I wanted to. I just love the simplicity of this and the fact that I was able to pull images that I love and use. And I could do this for a Christmas banner or just specifically fall if we wanted to do that. I love to mix my fall and Halloween decor, so that's why I went a little more Halloween-y with this one. But I love how this turns out, and it is a fairly simple project that you can customize and make your own decor just pop that much more. Let me know what you guys think of this one down in the comments. I would love to hear.
I thought it would be fun to try my hand at making some custom candles from the Dollar Tree pillar candles. So I've just placed these in a pot of water, and I will slowly bring up the temperature on these to melt this wax completely down. Now these do come with wicks in the middle, so you can reuse those wicks. I'm doing something different. I'll show you in just a moment. But I've just placed out a lid from like a pan. I use it a lot in crafting to kind of contain my mess, especially when working with like my different like Spanish moss or reindeer moss. But I thought it would be perfect to line with some paper because inevitably I will spill some wax. Now here is the wicks that I'm using, or here are the wicks I'm using. These are just some wooden, it says they're crackling wicks. Honestly, you don't really hear much of a crackle, but I thought it would be fun to use these, a little more custom high-end look, something that's just a little different than reusing the wax or the wick from the Dollar Tree ones, but definitely, I mean, if you want to cut costs down, you can definitely reuse those wicks. I did put them in a little baggie, so I'll have them for another time if I need some wicks for another project. Now, these little jack-o'-lantern votives I picked up at Dollar Tree, and I just love them. I love them because you can turn them around and have them be like the plain pumpkin on the back side if you want to have more of the pumpkin side displayed, or you can have that cute little classic jack-o'-lantern face. Apparently, I'm really wanting to show you how these wicks work, and they are really quite nice. They have that little metal base that you can use. Now, I have not taken any wax out of these candles, and you saw how full they were before. So it melts down quite a bit. They must like whip the wax or something when they put on here, because even with the wax solidifying, it doesn't go that low. But anyhow, it takes 4 of these pillar candles to fill 3 of the Dollar Tree votives. I was just using my silicone dishwashing gloves there that have kind of like the bristly stuff on the inside of them. Just be very careful. You're working with hot wax. You can definitely burn yourself, but I would just pour the wax in there till I got it to my desired fill length. Now, these are some essential oils I picked up off of Amazon. There are so many different types to choose from. I will link them in the description box. You don't have to add a scent. I thought that was kind of a fun part. There was 4 scents that were really good in this, and 2 of them I did not like at all. So just keep that in mind when you're buying scents unsmelled. You may not like all of them. Now, once I get all of my scent added in and stirred around just with a bamboo skewer, I placed that little wooden wick down inside, and it was kind of a dome shape on the bottom of these, so the wick wasn't standing up quite so well. So I did just place some bamboo skewers to hold it into place until that wax hardened. Now, you could cut your wick down beforehand, which would work if you're using scissors. I have these little like jewelry snippers that have a flat end, and so I'm just kind of snipping either side of the wick there, and then you'll see I just kind of bend it back and forth and it snips right off, and then I can go back in and kind of straighten up or trim any mess, but you can kind of see how that wick looks. And then here I'm just showing you where I went and kind of flattened it off there because when you break it off, it doesn't have quite the prettiest edge. So depending on what you're wanting to do, you may or may not need to do that. I think these are so fun to have those little cute faces there. I did 3 different fall scents in there. My daughters were already like, ooh, I want this one to burn first. They all have their favorite scents picked out. And honestly, they smelled so wonderful the day that I made these walking into my house. It just smelled just like fall. But you can see how beautiful and cute these are, just all lit up. I thought this was such an easy project. It took about an hour, a little over an hour for all of that wax to melt down. So it is kind of a little bit of like an afternoon project to do, but super fun. And I think these were so cute. They would make great gifts to do. But even if you didn't have these little pumpkin votives, I've seen people use like different mugs that they love. There's all sorts of different vessels that you could use to pour that wax into to use. But I just thought these were so cute and the fun different scents. But I'm already thinking other seasons, what could I do to make like Christmas gifts or different things? I think what a fun idea. Have you guys tried making candles? Did you have success with it? Do you have any any tips you would like to share, let me know down in the comments. This is just one of those Dollar Tree pumpkins that has that word, it was metal on it that said thankful, and I'd taken that off to use on another project. So this is just what is left behind. So I just removed that little hanging tag off of the back and the little bow on the front. Dollar Tree has a ton of different styles of pumpkins like this though, and so I feel like they're a really great value for doing different crafts with. So definitely grab a couple just to have in your stash because I find myself using them all the time. So I'm just giving this a couple coats of just some pumpkin color chalk paint. And then I'm a fan of having the green stem on the orange pumpkins. So I'm also just going to take some of my little green chalk paint and color that stem so that way it has the contrast and the colors I like. Now, I did find this frame at Hobby Lobby in their clearance section. I love looking through their clearance section for different pictures that you maybe would not ordinarily hang in your house, but to use for backgrounds or bases. You can also use a canvas if you have, or even another Dollar Tree sign would work. I liked this one because I felt like the pumpkin covered up that design and I'm not going to have to do any work to the background of it. And I do want some ridges on my pumpkin here. So this is just using some antiquing wax is all, and just a brush here that I'm just kind of going with the curvature of the pumpkin to kind of make those little ridges. And I just wanted a little definition in there so it's not just such a stark, plain, like flat pumpkin. Hopefully that you can see what I'm doing here. And then I do kind of dry brush over the whole pumpkin with the antiquing wax to kind of give it a little bit of an aged look. And then I do right here, I'm going over with some orange after that antique wax has dried to kind of tone it down a little bit so it's not quite so like in your face with the ridges, so it kind of tones it down a little bit. Now you can see how this pumpkin covers the design on my sign. I felt like that little chain kind of looks like the pumpkin's hanging there. I was fine with that. I actually quite enjoyed and liked how this looks. So again, if it's something that you would want to do something with the back of your painting or picture, whatever you end up using, definitely do that so it matches your decor and your taste. And I'm just using some tumbling tower blocks to kind of pop it out a little bit. I'm a fan of having a little bit of a three-dimensional look. Now this is just some raffia here that I have. You can pick this up at Dollar Tree or Walmart, any craft store. And I kind of split it apart so it was some little thin strands. And then I just used some hot glue to glue that on there. And then this is just a thicker piece of jute twine. And I'm just layering some different things to hang off of the pumpkin to add some texture and everything. I like the look of the buffalo check ribbon on there. I feel like bringing a little bit of black into it does kind of make it a little more relevant for October and Halloween. It's not so in your face Halloween. It's something that can be left out all through the fall season, but I do kind of like that. So that's why I'm adding a little bit of black on here. Now these are just some Dollar Tree flowers that I have, and I just cut them off an individual stem so I can glue them onto the pumpkin here. We're just going to decorate the top of this pumpkin with all different florals and bows and everything and kind of jazz it up a little bit here. So I'm just using some hot glue to glue each of those strands on. I'll tuck some of them behind the ribbon, some of them on top of the ribbon because we're going to put a bigger bow on this. So it really doesn't matter too much right now what it looks like in that center. And then I've had those cute little, I'm not really even sure what the different flowers are called, you guys, but I just picked what looked good. I get asked a lot how I pick the picks that I use in my florals, and honestly, I just pick what looks good to me. So I like to look for different types of textures and different colors of leaves, and then I just kind of mix and match as I do my projects. So this is just a little bit of like ticking ribbon, I think is what this is called, from Hobby Lobby, and then this plaid here, and it's more of like a velvety plaid. I thought those textures looked really cute, and it brings a little bit of that black in, but I wanted a little bit more orange to show through, a little different tone of orange. So this ribbon is from Dollar Tree, and I just made a giant bow, and I just tied shoestring bows on these, and then I glue this one on the base, and I just stack these ribbons just by gluing one on top of the other here. Pretty simple. I think it turns out really cute. I love all of those different patterns and the textures together. And now I can kind of see that the bow's there where I want to add a little bit more of the leaves and different things like that. So I just tuck different things in. These little, I love the color that's on those leaves right there that are the kind of cream color and tan. And this is just some burlap, or not, it's not burlap, it's twine with wire in it. And I just wrap it around my paintbrush and glue that in for some little corkscrew look to the pumpkin, like the little pumpkin vines or tendrils. And then I have some different like pine cones. These are all just from Dollar Tree picks. Every single one of these, I took all of these off of. And then I'm gluing some Spanish moss to kind of cover up that area on top of the bow, where you can see where it's layered together. Kind of adds a little different texture and a little bit more softness there. And I do that on the bottom as well. And you guys, this is one of my most favorite fall projects I have ever made. I absolutely love this. I think it is beautiful. It is something that is totally customizable to your taste and the colors in your home. I would love to know what you guys think of this one. I think you're going to really like how this DIY turns out. I have this cute little house that I got at Hobby Lobby, but I've seen them at Dollar Tree. And then I've also got this little ironing board that I got at Dollar Tree also. So what I'm going to do is make a mark on the top of this ironing board. You'll have to see if you can guess what I'm going to make out of this. And I'm just going to cut this off. So you can use an X-Acto knife, a box cutter, and do it that way. I just happen to have my saw right there, so that's what I used. And I am going to round out the edges on the bottom so they're not quite so square. And I'm just making sure that this kind of fits the size with my house of how I want. So however big you want to make this, you'll do it according to your measurements. So I tape off a couple of stripes because I'm making a candy corn out of the ironing board. And of course, the top is going to be white, the middle will be orange, and the bottom will be yellow. So I'm just using Waverly's chalk paint in the pumpkin, and I believe maize is the color of the yellow. So you can use whatever kind of acrylic paint or chalk paint you would like. The yellow on this is not very bright, and the orange is a little bit more muted than a traditional candy corn, but it does match the decor that I've made this year, so I'm okay with that. So I'm just going to remove my tape here and see how my lines came out. I think I did a pretty good job on getting those crisp, clear lines right there. So now I want to make some beads that are candy corn color. So I just take some wooden beads and I do 6 beads total, 2 of each color of the white, the orange, and the yellow. Now, however you want to handle this next part is completely optional, but I'm going to be using some scrapbook paper because I have a little bit of a hole in the middle of my house there. I got this on a very good sale at Hobby Lobby because of that, but I don't have a piece of paper big enough, so I'm just using a couple of pieces and just matching up the seam there where the plaid is. My candy corn will cover the majority of this, so it's not super crucial to be so exact, but I do want the plaid to line up for the rest of the house. So now I'm just taking some scissors and cutting off the excess, and then I will just use my nail file, whatever you use, a sanding block, finger sander. You'll use that around the edge to make that a crisp, clean edge. And now I'm just taking some twine. I wrap it around like 3 times, and I'll just tie that off right here. And then I am going to thread on my beads in candy corn order. So I do the white on top, and then I do the orange and then the yellow. And I kind of offset these so my next strand of beads will be hanging just a little bit lower than the first strand. But I'll let you watch how I do that and how that looks. I take a little bit of twine and wrap it around my hand and then tie it off in the middle to make a cute little twine bow here to put at the top of my little hanging bead strands. And of course, you know me, I have to just stress something, if not everything, in my video. So I do sand the candy corn to kind of soften the edges, give it a little bit of a rustic look. I go around all of the edges, and then I also go in the middle there and kind of go over the yellow, the orange, and the white just to give it a really rustic look. I want to make sure that I match up the bottom of the candy corn with the house so it will stand really well. So once I get my position figured out and where I want that candy corn to do, I just kind of lift it up and glue underneath. I noticed I had a little bit of painter's tape on the back there. I do end up removing that, so just be aware of that. Now, I have these little Halloween figures that I have had for years. Some of these, like my mom gave me, that were from my childhood even. So I'm just kind of playing around because I really like the way each of these look. Here's what it looks like plain. And then I've got my cute little witch I could set in front of it, my little pumpkin. So whatever you have that you want to add, if you want to add a little more detail, you can. I personally like the look of the black cat there, so that's what I am displaying in front of mine. Which would you use on yours? This DIY ends up being so cute in the end. I absolutely love it. And you can create it with all items from Dollar Tree. I am taking this little shadow box and I am removing the 3-dimensional portion of it. Then I'm going to take some black paint and just completely paint the frame. You of course can leave the frame or paint it, do whatever colors you would like, but I'm going to be placing some scrapbook paper over the back portion of this shadow box, so I don't need to tape anything off. I can just go ahead and paint all around like such. And then I take this little pumpkin here. Now this came from Hobby Lobby, but they did have tons of different little wooden pumpkins at Dollar Tree. So I paint my pumpkin orange, and I'm going to paint this little block, which was a leftover piece from another DIY I did from a block from Dollar Tree. I'm just cutting down some scrapbook paper to size. I thought this little black and white buffalo check would be so cute for a contrast. And then I'm just using some purple school glue stick, which if you've been here for a minute, you know I absolutely love this stuff. And guys, I recently found my Cricut scraper, so I'm just using that to get all of the bubbles and things out. I'm just going to touch up my pumpkin, give it a little green stem there, and then I used my Cricut to cut out a jack-o'-lantern face. You could easily use a Sharpie to do this, but of course I don't freehand anything because I just do not have a talent for it. So I also cut out Happy Halloween, and I'm just going to take each of these and I'm going to glue them into the shadow box. And so this first block here that I'm gluing down, I don't need to raise it up any because it is, and whoops, I almost glued it upside down, but it is very thick and so it pops out well. But the little jack-o'-lantern is so thin, I'm just using a little teeny wooden block, and I use that to raise it up to give it that three-dimensional look. I think the colors of this turned out so cute, and I love that buffalo check paper in there. I feel like this is such a nice little addition for Halloween. It's not screaming like scary or gory or anything. It's just cute and sweet and totally my style. What do you guys think of this one? When I saw these little pumpkin treat buckets at Dollar Tree, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with them. I thought they were so cute. And you could hang them backwards if you just wanted the pumpkin to show. If you like that cute little classic jack-o'-lantern face, it's just such a fun way to bring a definite fall feel into your home. Now, this is just a beaded garland that I have that I use against a giant mirror that I have in my living room. I don't have a fireplace or a mantle, but I think this would be so cute along there as well. But I do a lot of different things to this beaded garland to kind of dress it up for different holidays. And so I thought this would be such a fun thing if you have a garland like this. If you don't, they do sell them. I mean, at the craft stores, Walmart, you can pick them up for very inexpensive. I mean, I think around $6 at Hobby Lobby when you buy it on sale. So this is just some little baby clothespins that I have here that I'm using to put through the twine that's on here. And I'm just hooking it through the twine and then onto that little handle of that little bucket. Such a fun and easy, quick hack to do. I'll just go through the rest of the garland and continue hooking these little buckets on. Once I get all of my little buckets attached, I just lift it up to make sure I have my spacing done really well. I wish there was 5, so it had an odd number, but there was only 4 in the package. So just take that as if you have a longer garland, you may want to pick a second package of these up. Now I wanted to cutesy it up a little bit more. The buckets are really cute just hanging there, but on those little clothespins, I thought it would be really cute to have this little black ribbon with this little white trim. This did come from just the fabric section at Hobby Lobby, and I thought it would just be so cute with these little teeny bows because we all know that I love bows tied on there. So it's up to you if you want to dress this up or jazz it up a little bit more. But I just do 4 of those little bows, and I'm just getting them all to the exact same size so it looks very cohesive. It just takes a little bead of hot glue on each of these little clothespins, and then I will just place my little bow on there. I really do think that this adds just such a good finishing touch on here and just makes it look very cutesy and high end. I just love the way it looks. I feel like this was really what sets it off. I love the blacks and orange. Even if you're not like a Halloween fan, I still feel like blacks and oranges in fall just bring that feel of October into your home. And so I really do just love that. But I'm just going to continue on gluing all of my little bows on. It's really hard for me to film this and show you how it looks on my mirror just because of reflections and cameras and lighting and all sorts of other things, but I just thought I would put it here on this display to show you how cute this turns out. Do you guys like the bows on there? You could even fill these little buckets with something, to have that be a little bit of an addition that you add. I just think these turn out so cute. And again, something easy that you could use for different types of seasons. If you have a garland that you like to kind of keep basic and add a few little different touches to it for different seasons. What do you guys think of these little trick-or-treat buckets? As I've been shopping around to get some ideas for different fall projects and autumn projects, I've seen a lot of black cats, not in a Halloween way, but more in just kind of a harvest fall time way. And I've really been loving them. So I thought I would make a piece with a black cat on here. I just thought it's, to me, just screams fall and autumn time. So I just printed this out from Google Images. I just searched for black cat silhouette and was able to cut that out, just printed it out. I'll leave a link to it down in my description box, so if you guys want to quickly find one, you can, but you can kind of match it to the size of your piece. Now, I just cut that out and then I traced it on the back of one of these faux tin tiles that you get at Dollar Tree. I love using these for decor because I just feel like it has a nice vintage feel to it, something that would be a typical farmhouse thing to do, of repurpose something like an old ceiling tin tile. So I just think these are so fun. Now, I just freehanded kind of a pumpkin shape. So you could also Google a pumpkin shape, cut that out if you wanted something a little bit more symmetrical. I just kind of wanted to do something kind of abstract and just cut something out, kind of an organic feel. Now, of course, I just paint the cat black. I paint the pumpkin orange. It takes about 2 coats of the black, 3 coats of the orange. Now, this sign I found at the thrift store, one of the recent trips that I took there. It looks like I think I paid $1 for it. You can tell clearly that at one point it came from Hobby Lobby. Someone just got tired of it. But I'm going to distress the frame a little bit to kind of make this look a little more rustic. Again, that's something I like to do. This worked perfectly because I didn't feel like I had to paint the frame or anything. I loved the color that was on there, but there were a few gouges in there and everything, so that just kind of makes the rustic tie-in. Now, these are those cutting mats that you get at Dollar Tree. There's 2 in a package. And since this has a tin background here and it has a cutout on that, I wanted to completely cover this. So this is just kind of my idea. I was seeing if it worked. It actually works quite well. I just kind of press that cutting mat into the picture, run my finger along it, and then I just trim it to size to go right into my picture. And now this is one of the peel and stick wallpaper or wall stickers that you can get at Dollar Tree. Any type of wood pattern or design they had, or whatever designer pattern you feel that would work great. This is just a great hack that you could translate into any season or any DIY, but I just cover that cutting mat and then you can see it fits in so well. Now, I want this to be a little bit more of a permanent hold on here, so I'm just using my trusty Elmer school glue to go over that mat. And then I'm going to place it down onto the background here. That's going to cover that completely. Now, you could do the same thing on the back side if you're going to sell this or you want to make it double-sided. I just went ahead with some black cardstock and cut it kind of down to size, and I'm just placing that on the back. The reason why I'm doing that is since it had that cutout letters where it said thankful, the light was shining through and you could see it through on the other side, and I did not want that. But this would be a perfect sign, and I may come back at a later time and make this a double-sided sign. I think that would be so fun. Now, on my little cat that I cut out here, I'm going to use some craft sticks to glue down in a straight line down its back. I'm going to pop this out with some Jenga blocks And I'm doing this so that way it gives a little bit more, literally a backbone to this cat. So it's not going to be kind of flopping around anywhere. This just kind of adds some stability. It's going to give me a place to glue my Jenga sticks or Jenga blocks onto and make this cat have a backbone. And you can see here I'm just taking some Jenga blocks and I'll glue 3 down so that way when I glue it onto the surface, it's going to pop out and give you that 3D element. I do the same thing with the pumpkin, just glue a Jenga block onto the back of that, and he just needed 1, that little pumpkin did. Now the fun part of using these faux ceiling tiles is that you get to make that design pop. So I'm taking just a little bit of folk art metallic silver paint. I felt like if the paint was to scratch off of an actual ceiling tile, you would get like a coppery or a silver, some type of metallic tone to it. So I thought that was really fun. I just dry brushed that over both of those. Now I just used a bunch of scrap ribbon that I had to make this bow. There are so many different treatments you could do to your cat, even just a couple little wraps of twine around its neck with a simple little bow or a button. Kind of decide how much you want to embellish this. I just did a couple, like 3 or 4 different types of ribbons and just tied some bows and tied them together with a zip tie. And then for my pumpkin stem, this is just a stick that came from our farm. I love to use these as pumpkin stems. I kind of collect them whenever we have a windstorm. We get a lot of fun branches that fall down, and I'll find some cute little sticks. And I just have a bucket of them I use for different stems or different things like that. It's kind of fun to bring that in. Plus, it's free. Now I have this little wooden tag and I'm just stamping Hello Fall. I'm using some Dollar Tree stamps and I thought it would be fun to kind of mix the fonts up, kind of make it look a little whimsical. Now comes the fun part of putting everything together here. So I'm just making sure that my sign is completely free of any debris. And I just kind of place my little kitty cat down there. And then I kind of, while that glue is still hot, you can kind of manipulate where you want him set, if you want him up a little bit. I even tried to put a little Spanish moss underneath him to see like if he was sitting on a bed of Spanish moss. I didn't love it, but that's something just to give you an idea of something else that you could do. And then I'm just going to stack my little pumpkin right next to this cute little kitty cat. Now I want to add that tag to our pumpkin, so I just make a little raffia bow with just a little bit of raffia, and then I add a little bit of Spanish moss underneath him there just to kind of add a little bit more softness to it. Overall, I think this turns out so cute. I think this would be such a fun little cozy piece to have for fall time. I love black cats this time of year, and I love that they're not just Halloween, that you can have them. That just kind of means harvest time, fall time. I just think this is so stinking cute. What do you guys think?
This is a perfect project if you don't want to necessarily do obvious Halloween in your house, but maybe want to just incorporate Halloween colors. So I got this little firework pillar at my local thrift store, and I'm just taking out, you can see that rope just popped right out of there, had some little wire in the rope there, and then I'm just going to clean this up by wiping it down really good. We're just going to give this a paint job and add a couple little details to it to make it feel a little bit more Halloweenish. After I give this a thorough couple of coats of white or plaster chalk paint, I believe it is, I tape off some stripes, and then I just take this out to my little spray paint studio, which, as we all know, is just a box that our bathroom sink came in, but it works perfect to spray paint things in to stop the spread of that spray paint going everywhere. But I just spray paint it black, and it really only took 1 coat of the black spray paint to get really good coverage. And I have these 2 little square wooden wooden squares, I guess you'd just say they were, that I got at Dollar Tree. They come in like a pack of 6. So I spray paint those because I am going to put those on either end. So here comes the satisfying part of me tearing off my paint to reveal my crisp, clear, what we hope are crisp and clear lines from the black and white stripes. After I reveal my lines, I decide that this is such a very rustic pillar. Like, this piece of wood has a lot of little blemishes and knots and things in it. So I decide to embrace that, and I distress it That, of course, is a completely optional thing, but it does match my decor, so that's why I did this. And then I do, since I distressed the pillar, I go in and distress each of these little wood squares for the top and the bottom of the pillar. Using some E6000 and hot glue, I then go in and glue the top and the bottom on. So what you'll see I do here is I have my pillar standing up like this. I place my square on and then turn it upside down to kind of measure it and make sure that I get it centered really well. And I do that when I glue both ends on. Here's what this pillar looks like with a cute little pumpkin on the top of it. You can see how this definitely is not obvious Halloween, but using the correct colors and everything, it definitely brings that Halloween vibe into your decorating. This project can be completed with complete Dollar Tree items. So I have this little wood round that I got from the crafter square section, and then a wooden sign. And I'm just kind of eyeballing where I want my sign to end because I'm going to place that wood round on the top of it. And then I knew I wanted my next portion of the wood block to be just a teeny bit longer. So you can just kind of eyeball it. That's literally what I did. I didn't do any specific measurements. And then I just cut the 2 cuts on this. So I'm left with 3 pieces of this wood block sign, and I'll use 2 of them for this project, and I use 1 more for another project. And then, guys, look at what this is. It's a Jenga block, like one of the tumbling tower blocks that I found at Dollar Tree finally. If you're new to my channel, I have been looking for these in my Dollar Tree for over a year and haven't seen them. So I finally got some. I paint one of the pieces of the block white, one of them black, and then I also paint my little tumbling tower black as well. So I'm cutting off the little twine piece of this little wood round, and I use some plaster to fill in that little hole. However, I did not necessarily need to do that, and you'll see why in just a moment here. But the block, or the wood round rather, is going to be painted orange, and I do decide to go around the trim, the edge, and paint that with black. With my cutting machine, I did cut this cute little witch out, and with her little broom, I can place that right over that little hole where I used the plaster, so you can see why I didn't need to necessarily do that. And so I put her on the round, and then for my blocks, I cut out the words Hocus Pocus, and I alternated the colors depending on what color block they were going to be on. And so I just go ahead and adhere those to each of my blocks. If you know anything about me, you know that I cannot freehand anything. So I am totally embracing the cutting machine or rub-on transfers, things like that, water slide decal paper, anything to help me not have to freehand anything. So I just used some E6000 and some hot glue to affix those together. And then what I will do is I'm taking my tumbling tower block, as you can see here, and I'm going to put that onto my round first, and then glue the tumbling tower block with the round already on it onto the base of the other blocks there. And then I do take a Q-tip to go in and just kind of touch up the black paint around that edge where some of the orange was peeking through. To me, this completely screams Halloween. Not only is it one of my most favorite movies, I just love the colors of this, and I think it is so fun. It looks like a cute little snow globe sitting on the top of this. I absolutely love this one.
I would like to thank you so much for joining me for today's compilation video. I hope that you enjoyed all of these DIYs. If you had a favorite, let me know down in the comments. I always love to hear which ones you guys like the best. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.